So in this video, we'll discuss adding some shelves to a wall where there's some exposed studs like you see here. It's good for garages, for unfinished basement walls, for sheds, and they're great, sturdy, strong shelves. So hope you enjoy. You don't need a whole lot to build these shelves. You need some 2x4 and some OSB to go across the top of them. That's really all you need. And speed square, tape measure, and your safety, your protection, and eye protection. And a marking pencil, all you're going to do. And you're just going to make these brackets. And as we get into this, you'll see it's really, really simple. There's my miter saw. You need a miter saw because you're going to be putting some 45-degree angles for the edge of the bracket to fit on the back side. So the first thing you're going to do for the 24-inch 2-foot shelves, you need a bunch of straight pieces at 26 inches. So you're just going to cut a bunch of those, however many shelves you want, however many brackets you want. You're going to cut a bunch at 26 inches, just straight down. And typically these shelves, if you put them in a shed, we'd put them every other stud. They're strong enough for every 2 studs probably as well. So if you have a space, you can go ahead and count how many studs you're going to want. And that's how many brackets, how many straight lines you're going to need for the 26-inch piece. Now for the angled piece, it's going to have 45-degree angles on both ends of it, and the long end to long end needs to be 20 inches apart. And so what you're seeing here, I took the end of a 2x4 and marked 20 inches down. And these angles don't need to be exact. I mean, after all, they're in garages and sheds. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut a 45-degree angle at one end. You're going to flip your saw to the other 45, and you're going to line your saw up roughly with the edge of that line. And this is important. You want the angles to be going into each other, not away from each other as you're looking at it. You want to have both of the angles, the small sides facing your saw, and then long side to long side, you want there to be about 20 inches apart. And that's going to give you the right length to go ahead and get these things mounted to your 2x4 wall. Now what we're seeing here is kind of how it will mount up like you saw in the pictures beforehand. But you want to do this against a flat surface. So I'm doing this against my table saw fence. And typically when I do these before, you'll have a big staple gun or something like that, a pneumatic staple gun, to go ahead and staple that edge down in the middle where the two 2x4s join. I don't have that. A lot of people watching might not have that. So I'm going to go ahead and make some collar ties just to put across both sides of that to get that brace nice and tight and strong. I'm just going to use some scrap plywood that I have laying around. You could use really anything that's about 1/4 inch thick. And all I'm doing is measuring about how long I want them to be. This particular time I want about 5 inches. So I'm going to cut it 5 inches long. And then I'm going to take an angle off of it. I'll take a corner off of it so that it fits perfectly fine with that angle that we have on the shelf there, the shelf bracket already. And then what you'll do with these is you're going to attach them on both sides of that bracket, right where the two 2x4s come together. And that's just going to add it, that's going to allow it to be strong. And if you don't have those big 2-inch staples like a lot of companies might have. Now if you're watching this, you can use nails to nail those down. You could run screws into it. I have a pneumatic trim nailer. I'm going to put some 16 gauge 1 1/4 trim nails through it, just to, it's quicker, it's easier just to slap those in there. You can hammer and nail old school, or you can just go ahead and screw them in with the drill and some screws as well. 4 points of contact there. You're going to flip it over after you verify that you're level across that, because that's how it's going to be on the wall when you install them. And then flip it over and do it on the other side. And this is going to ensure that where those two pieces join together are going to stay strong and be able to hold the weight that you're putting on the shelf. So there you go. That's going to sit back into the back edge of that, behind the drywall or behind the wall, butt up right against there. So you'll take your brackets down to wherever your exposed 2x4 walls are. And however many you've built, you go ahead and you take that angled part that you were lining up against your flat edge, and you just screw those in with some long wood screws or deck screws into those exposed studs. That's 3.5 inches. That takes away from that 26-inch bracket, which leaves you a 22.5, but then you add that 1.5 inches with the 2x4 across the front of it, which takes you back to 24 inches of total width on that shelf. And you get that by just ripping down a 4x8 foot sheet of OSB, and then you lay that across the top and tap it in with some nails or some screws, and you have a good looking sturdy shelf that can hold a lot of weight. There are also those smaller shelves you can see to the right. Those are 16-inch shelves. We'll put the measurements to make those brackets in the comments. Thanks for watching.